and thank you for joining us for this episode of The State of Leadership, Simple and Beyond. That is Robert Hilliard. I am Whitnie Wiley, and we are here on Thursdays talking all things leadership, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific, and we want to thank you for being here with us today. How's it going, Robert?
Going great.
Cool. So we're going to be doing something different today because we are walk your talk kind of people, and something that is outside of our comfort zone. I don't know if it's outside of our comfort zone. We just haven't done it before.
Right.
So we don't know how it's going to go.
Yikes.
And we're going to find out. So, it is what it is. And so you'll let us know if it turned out well or not. So we are calling this episode, They Said the Quiet Part Out Loud. And we are going to hear from a couple of CEOs who have been in the news relatively recently for saying the quiet part out loud, right? For saying things that I think we know they think and feel, but you wouldn't expect them to actually not only say it, but have it captured on camera so that other people know how they really think and feel. And so we had an episode recently, Robert, and you were talking about, that feudal mindset, and there seems to be quite a bit of that in the clips we're going to look at. And I'll just say this, if this turns out well, the execution of this turns out well, we'll do this some more. So we're going to have some conversation. We're going to watch some clips and have conversation about those clips, and then we'll wrap up the episode. So how are you feeling about all of this?
I'm the technical stuff is what I stress over. So we'll see if it works out okay. I feel pretty good about it. Look, I didn't say these things, so they're out there.
And then there's that part. Yeah. So I actually have a question before we start showing any clips, because there is some underlying, and we're going to watch a couple of clips from CEOs who are talking about the return to work movement. We've talked about this topic a number of times on the show. And for me, there is nothing wrong with, in concept, there's nothing wrong with a CEO or managers saying, come back to work, right? Come back to work in the office. I want to make that clear. There's nothing wrong with you saying that. I think for me, the challenge of that notion is that somehow people cannot be productive working at home, and therefore we have to call you back because you're not being productive. And that's sort of this recurring thing, right? We need to call them back because they have to be productive, rather than getting to if productivity is the real issue, right? Getting to the heart of what's at that. Is it in-productivity, unproductivity, non-productive, of employees not being productive, right? Get to the heart, to the essence of what that is. And there's a concept in coaching, right, is not stopping at what you think the answer is and asking some more questions. And so where is anyone asking the questions about productivity and how to get there? Or is this a ruse about getting people back? And I know we've talked about this, and ultimately it's a manager's job, right? The supervisor's job to ensure that the work is getting done. And so if the work isn't getting done, just jumping to the conclusion that they need to be back in the office so the work can get done, rather than figuring out why the work isn't getting done and finding a different approach, particularly when it's creating this tension between management and employees, right? About the working location. And if you can take that off the table, get the productivity you want by getting to the essence of why they're not being productive, then we can have a situation that's mutually beneficial for both sides. That's me. Your thoughts, and maybe I'm wrong, and we would love to hear your comments. So certainly you can weigh in on the comments. But Robert, your thoughts.
A couple of things. First of all, I want to make it clear that we're not saying that these are bad people. We don't do that on our show, right?
No, they're not bad people. They're just people. They're just people
right.
who, run companies and have platforms. So
right, and
you're right.
I think the other thing to point out and to say is that I think one of the things that we'll see in these clips are people jumping to conclusions as to why people don't want to come to work, why people aren't being productive, and you hit the nail on the head. Rather than jumping to conclusions, drill deeper and find out the real reason. And I also saw in this clip a lot of, and look, we all have egos. We all have egos, but when you're functioning and when you are operating based on your ego, when that goes first before you engage your brain and engage what you say, that can be a real problem. I think, and I just want to say this one last thing, and then I'll be quiet, is that we don't know if these folks, at least I don't know if these folks said these things and thought, oh, wow, that was a mistake. I want to go back and apologize for what I was saying. But on the surface, when they're saying it, it seems like they really felt it and believed it and were going to stick by that. So we'll see what happens when we run the clips.
So I will say this, at least one of the CEOs, I am aware that there was some attempt to walk back what he said. And so I've seen some clips that says that he tried to walk it back. I didn't find the clip of him trying to walk it back. So that's a good point, right? And sometimes these things are in broader context.
Yeah.
So we will provide that caveat that the conversation could be in a broader context. I try to get clips that provide that context so that we're not making them out to be bad guys, which again, that is not the point. The point is that if they're saying it, they mean it, right? And so
on some level, yeah.
On some level, they mean it. They believe this. And then the problem becomes, at least from my perspective, is that they then behave as if what they think and believe is reality, and the actions that they're taking impact thousands of people, right? Again, without, and here's an assumption, here is an assumption, I'll say this, an assumption that they haven't gotten to the heart of what's at issue, and they're trying to solve a problem in a way that isn't necessarily the best way to solve the problem. Now, could they have dug deeper and found out in their particular organization this is the answer? Possibly. My big challenge will be, and I'll point this out when we get to the particular clip with the Australian CEO, is that in the quiet part that he says out loud is about more than the context of returning to work and productivity. And this is this is me. And I'm not usually prone to conspiracy theories, but I'm creating my own here.
Okay.
And there is a network of CEOs who have bought in to what he says.
Right.
And that a lot of what we are experiencing in the marketplace in terms of layoffs, supply chain issues, and others stem from this particular mindset, and it's orchestrated. So I'm just going to put it out there. Okay. That's what I think. Have I done the research to find out whether or not that's true or not? No.
Well, that's the essence of conspiracy theories. Usually, the research is usually not empirical. It's like,
if I did research, it wouldn't be much of a conspiracy theory, right? But this has been going on long enough that I feel like he said that this is what needs to happen, and then if you look around, you see what he says needs to happen is happening. So.
Okay.
Whether or not it's just him or a broader plan, I don't know. But I heard what he said. So let's get started with our first clip. The first one is an interview with Elon Musk. Probably no surprise that we would have an Elon Musk clip as part of this. And so we'll listen to him. This is probably, I think, the longest clip that we'll listen to. It's a couple of minutes long. After we've listened to it, we'll come back and we'll have a discussion about it. So here we go.
Look, I'm a big believer that people need to are more productive when they're and really, the whole sort of work from home thing. It's like I think it's look, there are some exceptions, but I kind of think that the whole notion of work from home is a bit like the fake Marie Antoinette quote, like the meat cake. It's like really, you're going to work from home and you're going to make everyone else who made your car come work in the factory. You're going to make the people who make your food that gets delivered that they can't work from home. The people that come fix your house, they can't work from home, but you can. Does that seem morally right? That's messed up.
You see it as a moral issue?
Yes.
I mean, I see it more as
it's a productivity issue, but it's also a moral issue. People should get off the goddamn moral high horse with the work from home bullshit. Because they're asking everyone else to not work from home while they do.
And yet there's still pushback, by the way. It's still going on. This battle is still happening. I mean, leaders of organizations, and I speak to plenty of them, I want people back. 3 days a week, they're still battling. It's not clear that it's ever going to change. So people are not going to back 5 days a week.
The laptop class is living in La La Land, okay? As I said, you can't, but look at the cars. Well, people working from home here? Of course not. So people work, building cars, servicing the cars, building houses, fixing houses, making the food, making all the things that people consume. It's messed up to assume that yes, they have to go to work, but you don't. How is that? It's not just a productivity thing. I think it's morally wrong.
Although productivity is definitely impacted too, and the ability for people to learn, I mean, on and on. Listen,
look, people will disagree with me about this, but it's like.
So if you want to work at Tesla, you want to work at SpaceX, you want to work at Twitter, you got to come into the office every day.
Yes, I mean, I'm not saying. I'm saying, like, look, put 40 hours in, and frankly, it doesn't even need to be like. Monday through Friday, work Monday through Thursday. And I'm also not saying no one should take, I think people should take vacations. Like I work 7 days a week, but I'm not expecting others to do that.
How much sleep do you get, by the way?
About 6 hours.
You do 6 hours typically?
Yeah.
No, that's not bad. It'll be less.
I tried less, but my productivity, even though I'm awake more hours, I get less done.
Okay.
And the brain pain level is bad if I get less than 6 hours.
But you work 7 days a week.
Yeah. I actually only, in terms of actually, you say like how many days in a year do I not put in some meaningful amount of work? It's probably about 2 or 3.
2 or 3 days
a year.
Yeah, a year.
Before I met your mom, I was a coach.
So, thoughts?
Like I was trying to be respectful, so I, I muted myself when he was talking. Like we try to say in the show, we have thoughts and ideas that are part of our personal way of thinking. And there are thoughts and ideas about how we think business ought to run. I think it becomes a problem when you start mingling them. So saying something is a moral issue, that's his personal thing. When I think the whole purpose of the discussion was to talk about productivity, and he starts talking about moral issues. Well, he's done things that many people would consider immoral. I mean, he said things on Twitter and things like that that are, many people think are immoral. So his morality is better than other people's morality, and the way he thinks of it.
And I guess if you own a company, run a company, you're entitled to have your morality rule the day.
Right. And the other thing that he said that I have issue with is that assuming that people that are working from home have some kind of power to force other people to have to go in. They're making people, they're not making people do it. People are, I don't want to say people are selfish, but we look at things from our own frame of reference. We're not looking out there and going, well, I'm going to do this to force other people to do that. I'm going to do this because I feel that it's best for me. So I think that that's the issue with what he has to say. Two of the issues. I'll leave it there for right now.
I'll piggyback off of that one, which when I listened to it, wrote down false equivalency, mm-hmm. right? And he's conflating issues. That I have a position that necessarily requires me to do it in a particular location is very different from me having a position and doing work that can be done from anywhere, right? So for him to say that, the laptop class, right, and there is there's a judgment right there on that, the laptop class. Like, how dare, you people who can do your work on a laptop, right? Elon Musk is standing up for people in manufacturing? Is that what he's trying? I'm standing up for little people, the people who assemble things. And
he's standing up for the people that work for him. He's standing up for like I said, self-interest. It's self-interest that is masquerading as, I'm looking out for all these other people. It's really his own self-interest.
Well, it's true that, right? And it's not just his company. It's not just Tesla. It's not just SpaceX. It's any company where the work has to be done in a particular location. If people could assemble cars from home, they would want to assemble the cars from home.
Right.
You can't.
Right. You can't do that.
You can't do that. You can't pickles, for a company. You can do your own pickling at home, but you can't assemble jars of pickles for Clausen at your house. Right. So the notion that the laptop class is somehow wrong, and because other people have chosen jobs that require that job be done in a particular location, I just see it as a false equivalency.
Yeah,
And that he could barely get the words out of what he was trying to say. I don't know. As someone, I'm not a behaviorist in the sense that I read, there are those people who read body language and but I don't think he really believes what he's saying. One, because he can run his companies and not be at the specific company. So this notion that things can't be done and you be productive remotely is hogwash. And he says as much at the beginning when he says that there are exceptions. So are you trying to figure out the exceptions, or are you not? And for me, that goes back to the question: are you digging deeply enough to get to the real heart of the matter, or do you just want what you want? And do you want to make it easier for you, make it easier for managers or whomever, so that you can watch people, right? You can keep an eye on them if they are here. I can't keep my eye on you if you're working from home. And then he starts to say, well, it doesn't have to be, these 40 hours a week doesn't have to be Monday through Friday. It could be Monday through Thursday. You can work when you want, the way you want. You just need to do it here. If the work is, if in the midst of you saying they need to be back in the office, you are also saying you can do the work the way you want, just get the work, just get your 40 hours in. Why is it a problem for them to get the 40 hours in at home or Fiji?
Well, look,
they're getting the work done. And let me just finish by saying this:
sure.
Create the system that ensures that the work gets done. And the work is done when the work is done. If you've got someone who's not doing their work, performance management is your solution, right? Coaching and performance management is the path to that. It is not saying you, Whitney, right, can't get your work done, so we're going to punish Robert and make him come into the office because, Whitney, you're not getting your work done. I don't get it.
Well, yeah, it's one of the things that stands out to me is that really we're talking around the issue. The issue is efficiency. He's looking to have people be as efficient as possible. And he won't mind that if he can automate those jobs and lay off those people, because he's looking to he wants to lower costs for himself while maximizing profits for himself, which is the essence of your strategy when you have a business.
How about you say that quiet part out loud and be intellectually honest? But that's another story.
But he's not going to do that because he has to. He's dancing around the issue. That's the bottom line. These workers that he's supposedly standing up for, he would have I don't know him personally, of course. I don't think he would have a problem laying those people off if he could automate those jobs and save himself money. So that's like you said, not being intellectually honest. You're purporting to be something, presenting yourself in a way that is not genuine. So that's the issue I have with those statements that he said.
All right. Well, let's play the next clip, which is a similar sort of it's a similar perspective. It is from, this one actually isn't from a CEO. It is from Jim Cramer, who is a CNBC or MSNBC, a CNBC, the business channel, right? It is him sort of pontificating. He's weighing in. This was a couple of months ago when the UAW strike was, it was on the verge of going on strike. And Jim Cramer makes some comments that, at least in my mind, and I think the way this is presented, this is a clip from TYT, the Young Turks.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is in alignment with the way I think they see this, is sort of Jim Cramer throwing American workers under the bus for the sake of some bucks. So here we go.
Before he's coming in and saying, well, they've never seen anything like it. I think there's a nuclear option on the table if he's not careful. And the nuclear option is a country called Mexico. But Puebla's got a 55,000 person factory from VW, and they got a good educational workforce. Is $5 an hour, no real pollution control rules. That's not to be mentioned. Have free health care. So you know what? You want to play ball? You want to keep doing this? Mexico.
Glad to see you're standing up for the American worker here, Jim. Thanks for that.
Pardon?
So before while you were dealing with your snark, I'm going to say I don't really know a whole lot about Jim Cramer, except for the fact that he is wrong about many things a lot of times. And I remember him talking about Theranos and what a great company they were, when no one knew anything about that company, and it turned out it was based on a mountain of fraud. And the CEO of that company and her COO are currently in prison. So Jim Cramer, I think that he is, I'm trying to avoid any inflammatory words, but I think the Young Turks basically called him a stooge of corporate media. So that's what they said. But he's wrong a lot, and he's wrong here.
So here's my problem with, again, what he said out loud. And it's not even that he said it out loud, it's that he and others feel this way, right? Which is, if you don't want to play by our rules, if you don't want to do it our way, if you won't take the scraps, and I'm not saying that the auto workers, the auto companies were only offering scraps, right? It's more nuanced than that, and complicated. But the essence is that business needs workers, and workers need business, right? They need companies to work for. Everyone is not going to be an entrepreneur. Everyone doesn't want to be an entrepreneur. Everyone does not need to have an entrepreneurial mindset to the extent of pushing them over the edge. I think it is helpful for people to operate with an entrepreneurial mindset in terms of maximizing the value that they can bring to a company to get back the recompense that is in alignment with that value. But in reality, that's not how a lot of jobs work, right? You don't always get necessarily the return on your investment in a company as an employee. You don't always get that because of the way things are structured. And we're not going to get into talk about union and whatnot, but in the case of unions, and in jobs in government, you get paid in alignment sort of with where you are and how long you've been there. And there are ranges that account for that, someone like you and I, right? We are paid in direct relation to the value that we provide to our clients. And so you can have jobs where you get paid regardless of the value that you bring, which that part of a CEO's argument, I'm actually 100% in alignment with, right? But again, that goes back to dealing with the problem that's the actual problem and not forcing a solution on others that has nothing to do with them. And for me, this is a performance issue, a performance management issue. My behavior on the job or my lack of productivity on the job should not be affecting you and Sally and Bob and everyone else, right? Where is my manager dealing with me and my issues? Now, if what is happening is that this is so widespread over so many people that you feel like the only way to handle this is a blanket, some rethinking needs to be done about that as well.
Well, it's assuming, the assumption is that executives work extremely hard and CEOs work extremely hard, and the people that work for them don't, and they're asking for things. Listen, I know executives work really incredibly hard, and the people that are on the front lines work incredibly hard too. Of course, there are always exceptions. Let's look at it that way. You can't look at, okay, well, these people are the brilliant minds that run organizations, and these are just the worker bees or drone ants that work for them, and therefore they have no rights. That's really industrial thinking, industrial revolution type of thinking, where workers were expendable. It didn't matter if they lost a limb, you just replaced them with another poor person that needed the job. That's not how things should be functioning right now. And I think that Jim Cramer needs to, what's the word? Upgrade his thinking. He seems to be a product of a bygone era, and I don't know his academic background, or if he's an economist or not, but I do know that he happens to be wrong a lot, and a lot of his things that he puts out there are just based on his own personal opinion and not any research. And that, if you're an expert, that's a bad, because anybody can do that. You're not anybody can be an expert if that's the criteria. Just
Right.
You're passionate about something that you think the way something should be. And by the way, he's wrong a lot. So I'm going to leave it right there. That's all I got to say about him.
I get the feeling you think Jim Cramer's wrong a lot.
He's wrong a lot. I mean, I've watched him talk about stuff that he uses a sure bet. And these companies are, not only do they fail, but they're not even real companies, they're frauds. So it's like, where is he getting his information? What kind of research is he basing it on? And in this particular situation, it just seems like these are his emotions and his feelings about stuff. And he's just putting it out there like this is how to handle the problem. No, that's just how you feel about it. That's not based on any kind of science, any kind of research. It's just how you feel about it. So
that's such a good point, right? And that goes to the issue of leaders being emotionally intelligent. If you just are letting your emotions rule how you interact with people, how you're running your company, that there's a problem. And Jim Cramer, in this instance, again, this wasn't about him as a CEO. This was just about a mindset that I believe a lot of people have, including CEOs. And so we're going to play the next clip. And this is Tim Gurner. He is from Australia. And I'll try not to cringe when he says what he says. So here we go.
People decided that they didn't really want to work so much anymore through COVID, and that's a tradies have definitely pulled back on productivity. They have been paid a lot to do not too much in the last few years, and we need to see that change. We need to see unemployment rise. Unemployment has to jump 40-50%, in my view. We need to see pain in the economy. We need to remind people that they work for the employer, not the other way around. I mean, there's been a systematic change where employees feel the employer is extremely lucky to have them.
as opposed to the other way around. So it's a dynamic that has to change. We've got to kill that attitude, and that has to come through hurting the economy, which is what the whole global, the world is trying to do. The governments around the world are trying to increase unemployment to get that to some sort of normality. And we're seeing it. I think every employer now is seeing it. I mean, there is definitely massive layoffs going off. People might not be talking about it, but people are definitely laying people off, and we're starting to see less arrogance in the employment market, and that has to continue because that will cascade across the top.
So was he saying that?
I think the problem that we've had is that we have people decided that.
Was he saying that we should destroy the economy? that makes that terrible economic sense. And I think you have him in another clip as well.
Yes,
you have him in another clip. And I'm going to save my comment about that other clip for when we get there. But I don't want to make any statements about him that I don't know are true. But he doesn't seem to really understand economics. And I'm not an economist, but I do know two things. If you destroy the economy, it's going to destroy your business. It's going to destroy the amount that you can actually charge for the products and services that you have, because people will not have money. So I don't understand this thinking. It seems to be muddled with his, let's hurt the worker by by making unemployment really high so that people have to come and work for us and take any terms that we give them. That is, like I said before, that's feudal thinking. So it doesn't make any kind of sense to me.
So
yeah. It's a symbiotic relationship, right? We both gain stuff. When we both can gain things from each other, we both thrive. It shouldn't be, you not getting anything from the relationship and me reaping all the benefits. That's not the essence of balance and how things usually work.
Exactly. And so I want to preface what I'm about to say with a little bit of, I get it, right? In your point about this is a symbiotic relationship, or it should be a symbiotic relationship, right? There should not be a parasite on either side sucking the lifeblood out so that this system can't work. And maybe in the case of Elon Musk and assembling cars, they can do the vast majority of what they're doing there with robots and AI, and they can reduce the expenses by getting rid of, superfluous employees and maximize profits. And at some point he can go, I rule the world. I win because, I don't have workers who are unproductive working for me. It goes to the point you make. If there's no one making money, there's no one to buy your products or services. So, where will your consumers come from?
But here's the thing. And if people come to work for you because their unemployment is so high, what about those other people who are still unemployed?
Exactly.
They won't be able to afford, and he's
who are your consumers? Yes, who are your consumers?
So it's like you want to take what you're thinking, those emotional things that you're thinking, and just go a couple steps further in your thinking and go, oh, okay, that really doesn't make any sense. But he says something else in the other clip that I was just like, this guy does not know economics at all.
And we'll get to that. And so then the other part of this is on the other side is whether it's Gen Y and Z, it includes boomers, it includes, X, Gen X, boomers Y and Z, wherever they're thinking, employees can't have the attitude either of we expect everything and I want to do all the things that I want to do and get everything I want to get by doing nothing at all. Or right. And so both sides sort of thinking, I want everything I can get out. I don't want to give anything. That's not how it works. Right. So, and this leads into the clip for the next one where he talks, this Tim Gurner talks about, right, young people not being able to afford luxury apartments. And it's sort of like, give up these things in order to make this happen. So let me bring up this next clip.
Create supply. It's a very simple mathematical equation. If supply is going to exceed demand, we're going to see affordability become more realistic.
He's one of the big winners in the runaway property market. The latest entrant onto the Aussie Rich List last year delivered luxury apartments worth almost $1 billion to the inner city of Brisbane and Melbourne. They're the type of apartments ordinary first home buyers can't dream of owning. But Tim says expensive city housing isn't anything new and that his generation needs to stop whinging and start saving.
When I was trying to buy my first home, I wasn't buying smashed avocados for $19 and 4 coffees at $4
So you
each.
reckon that's real, that people actually, young people, actually end up just spending their money and then whinge about the fact they can't get into the property market?
Oh, there's no question it's real. I think until the generation realises that the people that own homes today worked very, very hard for it, saved every dollar, did everything they could to get up the property ladder. It might be that you might have to buy an investment property first. You might have to share with mum and dad. You might have to buy with a friend. But you've got to get your foot in the door and you've got to slowly get up the ladder.
And I don't disagree with him on some of that, right? But let's take a step back. It's not about luxury housing markets, right? And there are places where people literally, like in California and maybe some places in New York, people literally making multiple 6+ figure salaries cannot afford to buy in the areas that they live in, or even rent without having multiple roommates. And I absolutely agree. Where I was going is that we all have to make trade-offs, right? There are always going to be trade-offs. And in order to get what you want, you have to look at the cost of making what you want happen. And if having a roommate for a while makes it possible for you to save your money so that you can buy or ultimately rent on your own, then that's the price you pay for what you want. But you can't have the market being artificially. This is my problem. And what he said that goes back to the first clip of him is that you've got my conspiracy theory. You've got people in positions of power artificially creating these crises in such a way to sort of humble, the worker that would deign to challenge us and say, I want to work from home, or I want this freedom. I'm willing to do the work, but I want to do the work on my terms. And if it is possible for them to do the work on their terms, and you can hold them accountable for that, what does it matter that another group of people have a job that requires them to be in a particular location? And for me, trying to help, and this is what I do. I got a box yesterday from a client who is building her law firm. She's building her business. And in less than 6 months, she already has so many clients that she has to contract out. And we're looking at building her infrastructure and her organizational structure so that she can hire employees, right? At the moment, she's contracting this work because, and she hasn't even marketed anything yet. Right. So no, she's not on the level that they are, but we've started from the ground floor, which is, what kind of culture do you want? What are the values that you want to drive your business? And what is it that you want from your employees, right? What are you giving? What are you expecting in return? And this notion that it should be all me on either side is misguided, and I think feeding into where we find ourselves economically, and if there is an effort underfoot to sort of, we're going to humble you, worker, so that you don't have any choice but to come back and work for us on our terms, which I thought we outlawed, at least in this country, a couple of centuries ago. It's like, how is this helping?
Well, I think I don't think there's a conspiracy. I think that he wishes there were. I think because his thinking. Look, because you look at it. Let's follow his thinking. Did he say that you need to have more supply? He did say that, right? He said so. If you have more supply, he's obviously, like I said, take a step further. If supply outstrips demand, then prices have to go. They have to fall. Who does that hurt? It hurts him. So he obviously is not thinking this through. You certainly, in that industry, you don't want overcapacity, because if you have overcapacity in that industry, the only thing you have to compete on is price, and everybody lowers their price, then who makes a profit? So then the people, the customer, the buyers, those are the people that have the power to negotiate. So he obviously didn't take that a step further. So I think that that's what he would like it to be, because if it were that way, he would lose a lot of money.
Well, and it conflicts with his philosophy in the prior, right? Again, which is that if we hurt the economy enough, then workers have to come and sort of work for us the way we want them to. Right. If you've got massive unemployment and I don't think he was saying he wants, and I could be wrong, but I've listened to the clip a number of times. I don't think he was saying he wanted unemployment at 50%. It needed to increase by 50%. So if it's 4%, it needs to be 6%, or if it's 8%, it needs to be 12%. Right. That's the way I heard that, and not at 50%. But I could be wrong. Maybe but whatever the math he did, the more people that are unemployed, the fewer people are able in position to buy the product that you're selling. Right. Yeah. And the same thing goes for Elon Musk and Jim Cramer saying, send the jobs somewhere else. The fewer American workers have, income, disposable income, in order to buy the products that you guys are selling. So I don't get it. And in helping my clients, create businesses that, one, are antithetical to sort of this approach to business. These are all people who, the clients that I have who have started their own businesses, become entrepreneurs, have left corporate jobs or law firms and said, I don't want to do it this way. I'm willing to create a different way of doing business, right? And that if CEOs think the way that they are saying out loud, there are going to be enough people. Everyone that works for them is not an entrepreneur, but there are some who are. They're going to start their own things with a different mindset that's going to make what they do. They're going to be disruptors, and to make what they do go the way of the dodo. So with that, I'm done. I'll let you have the final
No.
word. We don't have time to watch the last clip. So we will maybe save that for the next time we try this experiment.
All I want to say is shame on you, Whitney. Now I have to look this person up to find out like what, how did this person get their start? Because they have way too, I'm talking about this real estate developer, way too many contradictions in their statement. So I want to see what this person's background is. I am intrigued by this person, especially when he says things about, we have to have more supply, because that works against him. It's like, it's going to make your prices, you're going to have to drop your prices. You're going to have overcapacity. So now I need to know more about this person.
Well, I will give you time before we do this again. I will give you time to do a little research on him. Okay. So if you don't have a wrap up on this,
yeah, I do.
Words on our topic overall.
I do. As a person that has a habit of talking a lot, measure what you say. Think about what you say before you say them. Even now, I got a little excited, and I tend to get a little excited when we talk about things that I don't necessarily, when people express opinions that I don't necessarily agree with. I catch myself. I know, we're talking about emotional intelligence. I know where I feel it in my body. I know, okay, I'm getting ramped up here. Let me measure what I say so it doesn't come back to haunt me, or I don't damage this relationship, or I don't make this person angry, or I don't make myself look like a fool. So know yourself and measure what you say. If indeed you want to come off like somebody who's credible, who has emotional intelligence, maybe you don't. And I suspect that some of these people don't have those types of worries at all. So, but if you do, that's what I recommend. Know yourself, measure what you say, know your triggers, and just be mindful of what you say.
I would just take a step back and yes, think about what you're saying, but something you said earlier, Robert, that makes total sense. Take what you're thinking here is how you think it should be, and
move it.
Let's move it forward. Let's ask some more questions. Let's play it out. Let's extrapolate it down the line and see if where this goes, or where it could potentially go, is actually in alignment with what you're saying. And if what you're thinking, feeling, saying, and doing is hurting the very people that are going to ultimately be your consumers, the purchasers of your products and services, and you create hardships for them, how does that serve you in the long run? And so, give some thought to the bigger picture and the long run, and not be so stuck in your feelings about how it should be, right? And particularly this notion that employees should be beholden to employers. And I had sent you an article, I think it was you, an article about how employees are no longer concerned with shareholder profits. It's a symbiotic relationship. It should be mutually beneficial for both sides. And if you can't get there, right, this notion that right now workers have too much power and we need to bring them to their knees. If that's the philosophy that you're running your company with, or your department within your company, right, and you're wondering why turnover is the way it is, look in the mirror. And so with that, right, we're here to help you, to have you stop and think about, what am I doing that's not serving my employees? It's not serving me, my department, my organization, and what can we do to turn that around? So we're here for you in order to help you do that. Robert, if someone wanted to get in touch with you, work on their own challenges, or get some organizational development assistance, how would they get in touch with you?
They can reach me at inspireme@roberthilliardcoaching.com, or they can just go to my website, which is Robert Hilliard Coaching, and they can fill out a form there. Tell me the types of things that you want to work on. I do a lot of coaching, but I'm also an OD specialist. So if it's performance management you need some help with, if you need some advice on things that happen to do with productivity, effectiveness, and efficiency, please reach out to me.
Absolutely. And you can reach out to me as well at shiftingintoaction.now.site. Shiftingintoaction.now.site. You can complete a form, schedule time with me, or you can reach me through that platform. So we want to thank you. If there is a topic that we can cover on the show that would be helpful for you, please drop us a line, let us know. We are here on Thursdays, 3 p.m. Eastern, 12 noon Pacific. Again, this is the State of Leadership, Simple and Beyond, and we want to thank you for spending your time with us. Take care.